Hello, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Jacqueline Dorsey of Lean Frontiers, and I'll serve as your host today. I'm excited to bring to you today a short webinar on product development facilitated by Katherine Radeka, founder of the nonprofit Lean Product and Process Development Exchange. And speaking of LPPDE, the Lean Product and Process Development Exchange invites you to participate in the premier conference on Lean Product and Process Development in the U.S. The conference is September 14th to the 16th in Austin, Texas. Learn from leading Lean thinkers, hear and discuss real case studies from companies deploying Lean product development practices, and participate in an exchange of ideas across industries and academia. For more information, go to www.lppde.org. So for now, let me turn things over to Katherine.
Hi, it's great to be with all of you today. I am also going to be there at LPPDE, so if you want to learn more and talk to me about this stuff in person, that would be a good opportunity. I'm going to be presenting a workshop on rapid learning cycles at that conference. Okay, so we only have 30 minutes, and so in 30 minutes I can't give you a complete overview of Lean product development, and I don't really think that was the intention. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about why Lean product development. And since this was sent out through Lean Frontiers for more of a Lean audience, I'm going to assume that you're familiar with Lean, but I'm not going to assume that you're necessarily familiar with what's different about product development. And that's mostly what I'm going to be talking about today. So we're going to start with a definition of Lean product development. This is a definition that's been stable for me. I've been using this since about 2004, so over 10 years now, and it's held pretty true. And by that I mean, for me, it's about getting results. Is what we're doing with Lean improving product development in a measurable way? And so this definition of Lean, when we approach Lean in product development from this perspective, we do get results. And so this is why this has been stable for me, because we use it when we approach Lean from this perspective, we get what we want to see. And that is product developers systematically solving problems permanently to maximize value minus waste across the entire system. Now, a few things about this definition. Now, first of all, Lean, as you all know, has to be done by the people on the ground. Lean is not something that's done by some oversight body that comes in and does Lean to you. Lean is something that you do for yourself, and that's especially true in product development. Product developers don't like it very much when people who don't have engineering backgrounds and don't have experience with product development come in and try to tell them what to do. It really does have to be driven by product development. At the same time, Lean is about systematically solving problems, and that's what Lean product development is definitely about as well. We're doing that with a specific purpose in mind. We're doing that to maximize value minus waste across the entire system. And this part of the definition is here because, especially in the early days when I was working in Lean product development, a lot of people, when they heard of Lean, they assumed it was about eliminating waste. And it turns out that, it's not that there's not waste in product development. There definitely is, but that's not the focus of product development. In product development, the people who are making the design decisions are the ones who are deciding how much value there is in a product. If, do we include this feature or not? What level of performance can we achieve in this product? Is that a level of performance the customer is going to be willing to pay a good price for? I mean, those conversations are all happening in product development. So it's all very much about maximizing value. And we definitely focus on eliminating waste too. But we will often do things that look wasteful in product development in order to achieve value maximization. And I'll talk about some of those examples as we go through this. And then, of course, we're looking at this across the entire system because product development is a system. It's one of the most cross-functional things that an organization does. There are 4 distinct value streams in product development that product development touches, and I think that's another thing that's important for people to understand, especially people coming from more of a lean or operational excellence background. When you talk about optimizing product development, you don't necessarily optimize the product development value stream, because there really isn't such a thing. Okay, the closest thing that we have to that product development value stream is what I call product design and test. And that is the process of creating all the documents, all the drawings, all the supplier relationships and contracts and everything that it takes to get a product from the idea stage to a product that the company can make. You know, there's a lot of knowledge transfer that needs to happen there, and that product design and test is about that knowledge transfer. And it's also about all the validation work that goes into ensuring that the product is safe, that the product delivers the performance it promises, and you know, and doesn't have any unexpected behavior. You know, all that stuff kind of falls under that value stream. And when people talk about optimizing product development, they're usually talking about optimizing that value stream. But product development touches 3 other value streams, 2 obvious ones and one that has been hidden. The 2 obvious ones are, of course, the customer. The customer has a value stream. The products are integrating into the customer's value stream. As an example of that, I've worked with a lot of companies involved in laundry. I've worked with Whirlpool, you know, that makes washing machines. I've worked with a company that makes detergent. I've worked with a company that makes the ingredients for the detergent. And, you know, and they all have a role to play in the value stream of a customer who's doing laundry. Laundry is a process, you know. You know, the different things that these companies can do to optimize that value stream for the customer. For example, the introduction of cold water detergent is something that eliminated the waste of needing to heat water for the customer. They could wash clothes in cold water and get good performance. That's an example of optimizing a customer's value stream. So in product development, we have to be very aware of what our customer's value stream is, how our products are going to deliver the value that we promise, and then do what we can to make sure that that value stream flows for the customer. That's one way that we get good, satisfied customers. On the production side of things, you know, there are downstream partners. They're the ones that are going to be making the products that we produce. Key stakeholders in our process, obviously. And there's been a lot of good work done in design for Six Sigma or design for lean manufacturing to help ensure that the products that we develop in our engineering organizations are products the company can make. The company can make at a profit that are not going to cause problems downstream with service and support and maintenance for the organization. And so clearly that's another value stream that an engineer needs to understand if they're going to deliver a good product. And then finally, there's the knowledge creation value stream, which is actually where I'm going to spend most of my time, because this is where most of the waste is in product development. The knowledge creation value stream was entirely hidden until a book came out in about 1995, and that book was called The Knowledge Creating Company. It was written by a Japanese professor named Ishikuro Nonaka, and he wrote about the process that companies use to build and transform knowledge into products. And it turns out in product development that that's where the biggest opportunity is. And it's the biggest opportunity for this reason. The most wasteful thing that a company can do is develop a product that doesn't sell. They go through the entire product development process. They allocate resources for this product that they could have allocated to other products. They get the manufacturing organization engaged. They get their marketing and sales organization engaged. They put it out in the public where the customers can see it, and then you know, and then nothing happens with it. It doesn't go anywhere. It actually creates a lot of negative value for the company. And so a lot of what we're trying to do in product development is make sure, first of all, that the product that emerges from product development is a good product, a product that a customer will want to buy. The other things that we look for when we look for, you know, how to improve product development performance, first of all, we want to address and avoid products that are late to market. Products that are late to market, you run the risk of competitors beating you to the market. You run the risk of mistiming the market. If you've promised customers that products will be ready at a given time and then they're delayed, then you've disappointed your customers. You leave a lot of value on the table because a customer that's ready to buy will purchase something, and if your product's not available, they won't purchase that. And so we're always trying to look for, you know, ways to get products to market on time or even early, because that is, you know, there's a tremendous cost to delay in products that are late. And so that's one of the big things that we're looking for as a result. Another one is products that disappoint customers. Maybe they buy it. Maybe you are supplying a component to another company, and they're kind of captive. You're the only one who can supply the component. So they kind of have to buy from you, but you can still disappoint them, and you can still, make them go out and seek alternatives that they wouldn't have thought if they were satisfied with you. So again, even if the customer is buying the product, disappointing the customers is a big thing that we're trying to avoid. Sometimes, and this happens unfortunately much more often than it should, we release a product to the market that we can't make money on, a product that costs so much to make, that costs so much in warranty costs or service and support costs that that there's no business case for it. That I can't actually turn a profit on it. And you can't make that up with volume, right? Because the product needs to make money, and so engineers have to be very aware of that as a driver of waste in product development. And then finally, products where we do too much rework. Rework is, the traditional waste that is probably the biggest in product development. If I have designed a widget that that looks pretty similar to the last 15 widgets that I've designed, but I have to start from scratch. If there's no design patterns or no reusable knowledge captured about that widget, and I have to learn everything from scratch every time, that's a tremendous source of waste in product development. So what these kinds of wastes all have in common is they're all related to the knowledge creation side of product development. We're going to talk in depth about products that relate to market, so I'll take the other three. A product that disappoints customers often because we didn't understand the customers well enough. Or we had, or the product was late, and so we had to make compromises. And so if we can improve our customer knowledge, we can make better decisions about where to prioritize our time and energy, and we're much more likely to have products that are the customers really like. Products that are not profitable, often that's because we don't know. We can't predict what the cost of the product will be accurately. Or we don't know what the customer will pay for it, and so we get surprised when we realize we have to discount a product in order to get people to buy it in a way that makes it unprofitable. So that's a lot about knowledge around the customer and knowledge about the technology, manufacturing capability, materials, costs, the knowledge that we've created about that. And then a lot of the rework in product development is driven by the fact that we have not done a good job of capturing what we've learned and making it available to others. And so the concept of knowledge capitalization, being able to take the knowledge you have and view it as an asset that the organization should manage, that's another key part of product development. And then, there are other kinds of waste, that we talk about in Lean that definitely exist in product development. You can find lists of analogs to things like excess transportation and, and so forth, kind of the 7 classic waste applied to product development. But that's not where the big opportunities are. The big opportunities are in addressing the root causes of these 4 things. That's really where we begin to see the business results that drive sustainability for Lean product development. I said I was going to talk about the products being late to market, and this is the big issue that companies turn to Lean product development to solve when it is a product development organization that decides to bring Lean in as opposed to a Lean organization or a corporate mandate. If an R&D organization has decided on their own to bring in Lean, this is usually why, okay? It's because most product development programs are one long, slow learning cycle. Our process forces us to make decisions early in development, to establish requirements early in development, to set performance levels early in development, and make key decisions about partners and, and architecture and a whole host of things. But then we don't find the result of those decisions until much later in the process. One example of this, I worked a long time ago with a company that makes surgical instruments, and they had been forced by their process to make a decision about the handle design without actually having many people test the handle. They didn't find out until they were very, very late in the final weeks before launch that the handle design was uncomfortable for the vast majority of people that needed to use it. They had designed using a doctor whose hands were abnormally large. And so the handle was large because that's what he wanted to fit him. That's what was comfortable for him. But when they started showing prototypes of this to other surgeons in the same field, they were like, gosh, I can't use this. This is really uncomfortable. Right? That's an example of one of those long, slow loopbacks that caused an 18-month delay in releasing that product. The kinds of things that we do to try to avoid these big design loopbacks usually make the problem worse. So we'll lock down requirements and make it really difficult to change those requirements, but we haven't addressed the problem that the requirements are set too early. We try to optimize the build, test, fix cycle, so we get really, really good at fixing all the problems we find, but we're not actually eliminating the source of the problems. We decide that we're going to wait until the product is, quote, finished before for example, we'll wait until the design for the product is done before we start designing the manufacturing process. But then that doesn't give the people who are working on the design any feedback from manufacturing about how their design is working from a manufacturability perspective. So these are the very common things that we do to try to address these learning cycles, but they actually make the problem worse. And they make the problem worse because they force people to make decisions early and push the learning later. So what we actually do to address this problem in lean product development is the opposite. We push decisions later. We delay decisions as long as we can, to that last responsible moment. And we pull our learning forward. And what that allows us to do is it allows us to make decisions with a much better base of knowledge, much better customer knowledge, much better technical knowledge, much better knowledge about our suppliers and our supply chain and our manufacturing. And then it allows us to maintain flexibility so that as we learn, because product development decisions are often these wicked problems where, you change one thing over here and it affects 8 things somewhere else. So the longer that and the more sophisticated we can be about making decisions later, the more flexibility we preserve, and the less likely we are to have these long learning cycles that have huge impacts and drive a lot of redesign. So there's this term that's been emerging in Lean called rapid learning cycles. And right now, for me, rapid learning cycles are the focus of Lean product development because it addresses this problem right here. Because it breaks up those long, slow learning cycles. We break up batches in Lean, that's all the time. This is an example of that. We're taking one big batch of learning and we're breaking it up into smaller batches of learning. And then the benefit that we get from this, and it's almost a side benefit, except that it actually creates more value, is the fact that the process drives us to capture our knowledge, which means that knowledge can be injected into future programs. So when I push knowledge, when I push decisions later and I pull knowledge forward, one of the benefits of that is that I'm going to be learning things before I need them. That means when I learn something, I'm going to need to write it down so that when I get to the point of making the decision, I have that knowledge available to me. And so that knowledge is available. And it's not just available to me for my program team for now. It's available for future teams, for developing similar products going forward. And so we get to inject that knowledge into future programs, and that makes them even shorter. And so a really typical pattern we've seen with Lean product development when we've taken this approach is that the first products will be faster. They may be 30% faster or 25% faster than a typical product. But then the following programs get to be a lot faster. Groups can become much more sophisticated about how they manage platforms for technology, about how they establish things like libraries of reusable components, and all of those things speed up the later product development programs because they've got all this knowledge they're able to draw from, and not nearly as much that they have to develop from scratch. So in most companies, the way this happens is that we move people from program to program, and those people bring their experience. They bring all the files they worked on previous programs that they can use as a place to start. They bring the observations they've made about different ideas that worked or didn't work. But it's all very informal and almost entirely in the engineers' heads. But what we do in Lean product development is we actually bring that knowledge flow up to the surface, and rapid learning cycles are the key way that we do that. We bring that knowledge flow up to the surface and we make it very explicit. here are the knowledge gaps we need to close in order to make a good decision. And as we close those knowledge gaps, we are capturing the knowledge and making it very explicit how that knowledge is flowing into the decisions. So that knowledge flow gets raised up and made much more visible in the organization. So, so what we're doing here, to kind of summarize what's happening, is we are learning as much as possible as early as possible, and then making decisions only when we need to make them. So that handle design I talked about with that surgical instrument company, they were driven to make the decision about the handle design by a gate. And at that gate, they were supposed to have, the design, kind of worked out to a given level of specificity. But they didn't really need to make that handle decision at that point in time. That handle, it was an 18-month delay because they designed a lot of stuff around it. But, the actual, the handle itself, it had a last responsible moment that was later than that, okay? And so what they've done is they've gotten much better about understanding when they really need things like the handle design to be done, and then making sure that they are able to get early customer feedback on something like that that's got such a, where the user interface is such a strong component of it, that they can get early learning on that and then feed it into the handle design and then make the handle design when it needs to be made. When they're able to do that, they're able to avoid those late design loopbacks that cause the 18-month product delays that cost the company so much time and money. So, so in general, the kinds of things that we do around this that are different, we work on optimizing the learning cycle, not optimizing build, test, fix, but helping the groups get really, really good at designing experiments, at figuring out what knowledge they need to gain, and at capturing that knowledge so that it's usable not just in the program, but it's reusable in the future. We coach them on evolving the requirements and the design simultaneously. So in a lean product development program using rapid learning cycles, we converge on the requirements, over a period of time. And there is a date when the requirements are finished, but it's usually a lot later than it would have been in a typical program, because the decisions about those requirements don't need to be made up front. They actually work better when we make them later and when we've had time to learn about them. We work on getting downstream partners involved early, because that's a big way to learn. We can, for example, if we're working with a new material, we might bring in somebody from manufacturing to help us understand the impact of that material on our manufacturing process. Do they have the capability to support the material now? What do they need to gain that capability? And they can start working on closing knowledge gaps around that early, just as we're working on the design and the customer knowledge gaps early, so that we can make good decisions as we go down that will not have to be revisited later when the product reaches manufacturing. We don't tie decisions to gate reviews. A lot of times the gates, in a phase gate life cycle, you'll have requirements have to be frozen at X point, and design freeze, is at X point, and those things are tied to gates. And we don't do that in a lean program, because we don't have these big batch decisions that all have to happen at once. Instead, the gates become much more about reviewing the business case for this product. Is it still a product that makes sense from a strategic perspective? All the stuff that managers are really good at and really should be focusing on, and we leave the timing for the detailed design decisions to the program team, where they have the best information to make those decisions. And then finally, the driver behind all of this is based on lead times. Really getting good at understanding, all right, well, how long does it take to make a handle? We have, what are the different steps we have to go through in order to get, the mold that we need for the handle, and to have it there in time to integrate with everything else. And understanding those things really help us make better decisions about when these, when we need to close on elements of the design like this, so that we can, eliminate all of that rework. So the specific countermeasures that have stood the test of time in lean product development, the ones where we are spending most of our time today, are really around these rapid learning cycles, knowledge capitalization, and convergence. All of these ideas have been around for a long time. Ellen Ward was talking about them in the early 2000s. In fact, the first reference to rapid learning cycles was in a book by Ellen Ward that was published in 2004. But it took us a long time to figure out what some of these things meant. Okay, so it's really just been in the last 4 years or so that we've begun to see predictable results from lean product development. And by that I mean if we go in and we implement lean in this way in an organization, then they commit to it long enough to stick with it, then we will get good results from this. So I've talked about rapid learning cycles a lot. I'm just going to just very quickly, just what they are is they're a synchronized set of systematic problem-solving activities. And the structure of a rapid learning cycles project looks like this. You've got basically 3 different cycles that are turning together. One focused on the decisions, because remember I said we were pushing decisions later. One that's focused on the knowledge gaps, and then one that's focused on the team's activities to close their knowledge gaps. And so a rapid learning cycles program, can't be, scheduled out on a traditional Gantt chart. We're going to be using some methods that we've taken from Agile software to manage this iterative approach to development. Knowledge capitalization is about getting better at creating, capturing, sharing, and using knowledge in the context of product development. Recognizing when you've created knowledge, having a mechanism to capture knowledge, having mechanisms to share knowledge, knowledge repositories, knowledge supermarkets, and then having things like checklists and design guides and design review formats that help ensure that the knowledge is getting reused. So that knowledge capitalization has been really important. And then and the benefit there, as we said before, is that it helps you inject that knowledge into future programs, which helps make them shorter. And then finally, convergence, which is an idea that's been around for a very, very long time. Convergence is the process of making a decision in a set of stages that help bring things together. So when I talk about lean product development today, I'm primarily talking about using a program that's structured with rapid learning cycles that is focused on capitalizing on knowledge, both the knowledge that's available in the organization and creating new knowledge for the organization that goes beyond the simple product problem they're trying to solve, and on using convergence where appropriate to help break up some of these big decisions. So if you're in a lean or operational excellence road, I just want to leave you with a few thoughts. First of all, it's important to recognize that there are some things about product development that are different. When we look at the product development, lean product development programs that didn't go so well, they often didn't go so well because they were being driven by operational excellence or lean organizations, and they were coming in and trying to drive those using language that the product developers had a lot of trouble with. Okay, and so it's important to, if that's your role, it's important to make sure that you are able to talk the language of product development with your product developers. One really simple thing is that product developers are motivated by the desire to get their product to market. And they're not so motivated by things like eliminating waste. In fact, if you show them how to eliminate waste, but it's not going to help them get their product to market faster, they really don't care. It's just not on their radar screen at all. And so it's important to recognize that you're going to need some things to learn how to talk their language. And the second is that these product development implementations are most successful when they're driven from product development, when product development is asking for this, okay? And so show them that lean product development does lead to improvements in time to market, that it does lead to better products, that it does lead to customers that are happier. There are, the lean LPPDE conference that was mentioned at the beginning is a place where you can find case studies. My book, The Master of Innovation, has case studies that describe how this works. And to show them that this will help them get what they want. Ensure that the sponsor for lean product development is squarely in the product development organization and has credibility in the product development organization as an innovator. If you can, if you don't have one of those people on board, you're going to get more dismissed from people in product development. And finally, pilot programs in lean product development are essential to help ensure that people understand how this can help them. The biggest challenge that we face when we introduce lean to product developers is that a lot of the language around lean is designed for people that are working in a transactional role, working on small defined processes, and that's not the world that product developers are in, and they know it. And so you do kind of need to kind of learn how to speak their language a bit. Okay, so I know we're pretty much at time here, so I'm just going to close with some steps. Like I said before, in 30 minutes, I can't teach you how to do lean product development. I can only teach you why you should do it, and I hope I've done that. If you want to learn more about how, there's 2 books that I've written. My latest one's called The Shortest Distance Between You and Your New Product. It is entirely about the rapid learning cycles and knowledge capitalization aspects that I've described to you. It goes into a lot of detail about how to make that happen. The Mastery of Innovation is a book of case studies. There are 19 case studies that talk about real companies doing lean product development, companies like Scania and Ford, companies, small company like Nielsen Kellerman, a small electronics company, and Goodyear and Novo Nordisk, a pharma company, and just lots of good examples in there to follow. And then finally, the Lean Product Development Resource Center at lpdrc.com, that's got the resources that I have available about how to make lean product development work, including a series on the lean transformation model, which is the method that I've used to help companies go from zero to full lean implementation. Okay, so Jackie, it's back to you.
All right, Catherine, thank you, not only for facilitating our session today, but thanks for your many contributions for lean product development. As mentioned previously, today's webinar is being recorded. Look for an email following our time together for a link to the recording, as well as a PDF of the presentation. Feel free to share this throughout your organization. So again, thank you, Catherine, and thanks to each of you for participating in today's session. Goodbye.
All right, thanks everyone. Bye.